fall wreaths can cost a small fortune, but today I'm making two gorgeous wreaths inspired by Pottery Barn and Kirkland's for a fraction of the price, using thrifted finds, Hobby Lobby sales, and a little DIY magic. We're creating high-end looks on a cozy budget. So let's go ahead and get started with the Pottery Barn dupe. For this project, you're going to need one wreath, and I bought a straw form wreath at Hobby Lobby, and I paid $4.49 for this. And then from my stash, I bought these last year at 90% off. So these are 50 cents a bag for these, and I have 6 of these bags. And they still have these at Hobby Lobby, and they're currently 40% off. And then I bought these, and I have 6 of these bags that I also got 90% off last year. So these are 70 cents each a bag. So these are the things that we are going to be using. And we're going to start off with the smaller white pumpkins. These are the ones from the 50 cents bags, and I'm applying a liberal amount of hot glue to the base, and then I'm going to hold it in place on the wreath until it attaches. And I am starting with the inside of the wreath. Now, what I did learn later was I should have wrapped this wreath with like white or cream fabric or ribbon, so that none of the straw would show. So that's lesson number 1, and I'll share other lessons as we go along. So I am going to put them up, touching each other side by side, and we'll go all the way around the wreath. Now that we've got our first row in all the way around, I think it's looking so good. We are ready to add our second row, and we are going to use the bigger pumpkins that came in the netting bags this time, and they have fabric on them, but some of them might not be perfect, and if they've got a little owie like mine, just go ahead and fix that on up with some hot glue. And now we're ready to put these fabric pumpkins onto the wreath, and I'm just laying them out to make sure that they fit all nicely before I start gluing in place. And so what I decided was to use one of the bigger fabric pumpkins in white and then 2 of the smaller ones, and I'm going to go ahead and repeat that pattern throughout the wreath. Now, another option for attaching these would be to use like a skewer or a pick that you could stick into the pumpkin and then also poke that into the wreath and glue it down. That might make it a little bit more secure if you were going to use it in the outside or a windy place. And now what I want to do is add some pine cones between the 2 pumpkins. And I'm again doing this with some hot glue. So I am going to apply a generous amount of that and hold that in place while it dries. And I'm going to repeat that process all the way around the wreath. Okay, so this is what my wreath is looking like. I think it looks so beautiful. Now, one of the things is that I do have some spaces. I have some of these left over in these little bags. So since they have the same stem as the pumpkin, what I'm going to do is come down here and cut that. And then I'm going to find a place like this one right here, this hole, and I'm going to put some glue all the way around the side and a little bit on the bottom, and I'm going to tuck it right into that space. And I'm going to repeat this process with the skinnier necks, like on this little piece of squash, and fill up the smaller holes. And I'm going to use the thicker pieces too for the larger holes. And I'm going to continue to work that way all the way around the wreath. Oh, it is looking so good. I love how those pieces just filled those holes right in. And so I did leave a space at the top where I want to add a bow. I purchased this beautiful, like sagey, light sage color ribbon at Hobby Lobby. They had their ribbon 50% off, so this was $6.49 less the discount. Now this is unusual for me because it is not wired, but satin, a lot of times you just want it to hang. I just want to make kind of a big floppy bow. So I have like a length out here that I want to use for the tail, and I always try to make it a little bit longer than I think I need, and that way if it's not too short. You can always cut it, but you can't make it longer. So I'm just making a loop, and I'm just gonna kind of scrunch that loop together like that, and then I'm going to make one going the other direction, because there is a right and a wrong side on satin, and you don't have to really twist it to get the loops. So you can see this one is just a hair longer, so I'm going to just shorten that, hold the two up. So now I've got two even bows, again scrunching it up in the middle, and I want to make sure that I do twist this just a hair so that the ribbon will lay flat and on the right side going forward. What I'm going to do here is I'm taking string. Again, this is just because this is what I have. If you have a zip tie, again, I highly recommend zip ties. But I'm just going to tie this in a knot. So now I've got my ribbon in a knot. All you have to do is just cut off the excess of the ends. All I'm going to do is take a little piece of this. Actually going to wrap the ends in so you don't see the ends. And all I'm going to do is just cover over this middle like that. And turn it over. And I'm going to tuck this side under, and then I'm going to just hot glue this in place. Just fold it over piece and just meeting that. Then I'm just going to take some hot glue, and I'm just going to apply it right there onto the back of this. To decide how long I want these tails. So we've got the bow there on the top, and then I'm gonna make these, I think, a little bit shorter, maybe more like this. Cut up just on a diagonal. So instead of a dovetail, I'm just going to make a really simplistic cut, because I don't want the ribbon to take away from the beauty of the wreath. I just want it to add to it. The next thing you want to do is look for any strings, these glue strings, and pull those off and get rid of all. Here's another one down here. Get rid of all your glue strings. That takes away from the beauty of your wreath. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove all mine. And the other thing is, to make a high-end wreath, it really is about scale. So you can buy wreaths that are similar, like at Walmart and things, but they are not going to have this scale. So I want you to see that this finished wreath, when I go out to where the pine cone is, it is 23 inches. That is a really nice size wreath. And I think that size or scale makes all the difference in high end. Like when you shop at the Dollar Tree, which I do, I try to make sure that I'm getting things that are in the right scale for them to be a dupe. So I'm just going to add some ribbon to the back, and then we will hang this one up. So now let's go ahead and get started on our Kirkland's dupe and see how much money we can save. So I went to Hobby Lobby and I purchased a grapevine wreath, and this one is $5.99. For the little wheat and the raffia, I purchased this at Hobby Lobby, $5.99, 40% off. So they have tons of this there now. And this I got last year after fall sale, 90% off. So I paid 60 cents for all of these earth tone leaves right here. And then I have this bunch of leaves that I got from the Goodwill bins. Yes, so you know, my guess is this, because they weigh it by the pound, it's probably a half a pound, so probably about $1 I paid for all of this. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to make some raffia bundles. To make your bundles, you need your raffia. I am using wire, and I'm using some scissors and some wire cutters. This is very thin gauge, so it's super easy to bend, and I got this at the bins, but you know, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, any crap, well, I'm sure Walmart has, you know, different gauge wire. So what you're gonna do is pull off a strand of raffia, and you're gonna make it about 6 inches in length, and you're gonna make a loop. You're gonna gather it at the bottom and then go back up to the top, and you can always flip that little piece over, always holding on to the end. And then I'm just pulling out my next strand, and dependent upon how thick your strands are, you are gonna want to make this either, for me, I'm making mine between 5 and 6 strands of raffia so that it is nice and full. So it's up to you as to how thick you want it. But I think in order for it to have the same impact as our Kirkland's piece, we do want it pretty thick. I am gonna take my little fine gauge wire, and I'm going to put it around towards the base of the bottom, and I'm gonna wrap it around 4 times. 3, 4, and then I'm gonna cut it. And then I can wrap it around 2 more times, so that makes 6. And then you want to make sure you pinch in the edges so nobody gets poked. So then you should have a bundle that looks something like this. And then I bring my little trash can over. And what I'm going to do first is just clip all these loops. So I'm just pulling my scissors to the end of the loop and then cutting it so I have all ends and I don't have loops anymore. Then I'm just going to squeeze them together and then just give them a little haircut, just like that. And then I'm also going to trim up the bottom. I'm going to use 12 of these, so I have all the other ones already made here. The next thing I want to do is create the leaf, which is really the structure, like the formation on the back. And so I'm just going to cut these branches off. I'm starting with 6. I am gonna go with color, but I am gonna add the browns into the tips of these. And look, that's all you have to do, is just poke that tip right in there. And then, you know, as I put this on, that way we'll get a good amount of brown because I'm using big brown leaves. So just pull that tip off. Okay, I'm gonna put this on here. If you're using your wreath outdoors, I would recommend hot gluing those additional leaves in place. Mine's going to be indoors, so I'm just going to put it on the top. Okay, as I went through the leaves, I found that there were 2 different colors of big ones. There's also 2 different colors of smaller ones in there. So what I decided to do was to make 8. These are the 2 different colors side by side. Ready to add the branches onto the wreath, and the Kirkland Inspiration Wreath had the spray going around the side. And so what I want to do is find the best side. That is what I want to leave exposed, and the side that isn't as nice is where I want to put the decoration. So I think I'm going to go with this right here as the outside. And so what I want to do is just take my little leaf picks, and you can slide your other leaves up. And remember, this takes up about half of the wreath. I slid that in, and what's beautiful about grapevine is you can just tuck it back inside. So like that on the back. And you don't have to use glue. And the reason why I don't like to use glue is, one, it doesn't look so pretty. Now, sometimes you have to, and that's fine. But also, you can reuse the stems and you can reuse the wreath if you don't use glue. So I've got that in, and then I want to go with one of the other ones, which is a little bit more brown. And I want to stagger them so that they form outside of the wreath as well. Just gonna tuck that in. So I want some, remember looking at the picture, that are going in and some that are gonna go out. What I want to do is set kind of where my boundaries are gonna be. So I want to go on the opposite side as far around as I want to go. Again, I'm gonna slide these leaves up closer to the top. And this time, I think I'm going to put this more goldish leaf going up. Now, you can always cut the backside stems, or you can keep tucking them in like I'm going to do. I'm going to take the more brownish one, and I'm going to anchor this in more on the inside of the wreath, like that. So those are our starting to, and then I'm just going to fill in with these other ones, kind of alternating. And I bought this ribbon at the Dollar Tree. The Inspiration bow has 3 loops and no tail. So I'm gonna go ahead and just make a loop and then squish that together. I'm gonna just bend this back onto itself and squish that together. And then this one, I'm gonna twist so I get back onto the right side. Okay. I'm gonna make another loop like that and do the same over here. Do 1/2 twist and then make another loop. And now this is right sides. So 1 more loop. This is right side here. So 1 more loop like that. So then before I cut it off, just want to see, and that looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna loop my wire around this 3 times. Clip the end. Cut this ribbon. So now what you want to do is just fluff your bow. That looks good. And then I'm just going to take a small piece and go through the middle like that. Okay. Fold this end. I like to fold the ends so that they are nice and finished. I'm gonna take my hot glue onto this folded end. So I don't want that end showing, so I'm just going to tuck this end back in underneath this bow. And I'm going to refluff my bow again. What I'm gonna do is just take a small piece of wire and I'm gonna just wire this right here, right into place. Twist these wires in the back. So next, what I want to do is to place the pumpkins. And so this is just a Dollar Tree pumpkin that I had used from last year, and I just stuck a bamboo skewer on it. And so I am gonna have to cut this bamboo skewer. So in looking at the inspiration, it looks like, you know, it's got a nice one like that. This one too. And tuck that into the grapevine right there. Okay, so I've got those two. And then I'm going to use 2 of these like celadon to bring out that green. Over here, if you want to go with the white, like the inspiration, then that's amazing. But I had these and I thought they were the right scale and I thought they would look beautiful. So I'm just gonna take the bamboo skewers that I already cut off, just a little bit shorter. I'm gonna do the same for this one. So now we've got all of our little raffia pieces, and these we are going to also tuck in to the grapevine. And this time I am going to add hot glue around the base where we tied them off, and then hold it in place until it's exactly where I want it. And so I am going to repeat this process over and over again until I fill out this wreath. So I'm going to take this small leaf, and so that the brown is not only in the background, so it's a little more similar to the Kirkland inspiration leaf. I'm just going to glue it on top of there. So I think that side looks good. This side could use like another brown leaf also. I think maybe one more bundle right underneath there. So I did end up using 14 bundles of raffia in all. And I am in love with the way it turned out. What do you guys think? Please let me know in the comments below. And if you love making high-end items on a shoestring budget, please subscribe for more wonderful content coming up soon.